So I knew your work just a little bit here and there. You'd be on this show and that show.
Yeah.
And one night, I was fried. And so I went on Netflix looking for something to watch. And there's this Tom Brady roast. And I thought, this seems particularly mindless. Let's do this.
Exactly.
And then there you were. And I kind of barely knew you. And you killed it. Killed it. I hadn't seen anything like that since, I don't know, Prince playing While My Guitar Gently Weeps on an award show 20 years ago.
I know what you're talking about. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's it.
With Danny Harrison
That's
and Tom Petty.
You got it.
What a comparison. That's so nice.
Overnight sensation. What goes into being an overnight sensation?
I mean, like 22 years of, doing it all the time. Of work. And of, honestly, of just not really ever thinking it was going to happen. Just really, just one foot in front of the other. I was not really in a place of like, when is this going to happen for me? When are people going to notice? I really come from a place of like, I probably don't deserve to get noticed. I'll just keep working and tricking people along the way is kind of what I thought. Like, people seem to just like kind of fall for my BS, I guess. And then this came about, and I did advocate for myself to get the Tom Brady roast. I knew it was going to be a huge deal. I didn't know how huge, but I knew I had it in me to like put the work in.
You say you advocated to get that gig.
Yeah, I did.
How does that work?
Well, I heard it was happening, and then I just texted the guy who I assumed was going to be in charge of it, Robbie Pra, who is head of comedy at Netflix. He had scouted me for the Just for Laughs Festival in like 2007, so I had known him since we were both kind of starting out in the business, and I just texted him and I said, I really want to do this roast, and I think I'd be great at it. And he said, actually, I'm going to talk to Tom about it today. And
Tom Brady had control over who gets to be
I think he had,
the roaster?
I think he's an executive producer on it. And so I think, he was going to have a say in it. And
did you have to perform in front of him, or did he watch tapes?
No, I think he watched tape. I think he was very well versed in roasts getting into it. That guy watches tape.
What was he thinking saying yes to it?
I think he was just going for the next challenge, the next thing that other people go, I could never do that. Because most people know, like, has there been another one since? Like,
you think that was the end of roast?
I don't think it's the end, but I think it's a really hard spot to fill. I think that a lot of people aren't brave enough to do it.
So talk to me a little bit about what goes into the preparation for something like that. I think there's still a mythology that comedians, like singer-songwriters, sit at home at the kitchen table and they sketch out one joke after another. But it's a lot more complicated and a lot more collaborative than that, isn't it?
So you start writing jokes, and then you start getting jokes sent in from the people that are on your team. And by the way, everyone does this. No one admits that they do it.
Why?
Because you get talked about on podcasts and different things where people say, oh, well, she had writer. You don't get all the glory. I don't have a lot of shame in saying that I have help because I know everyone does it. But the problem is people on the outside that don't know that everyone has it, they look at me, they can just excuse my talent. And since when is it not a talent to be able to say, here's what I want and, actually make that better. Here's where I want to redo that. And every script you have seen a movie of besides Mike White, on White Lotus.
And maybe this season could have used a little.
No, I will not say that. I love it. But and then I look at like late night hosts and I'm like, we never steal anything from their glory, and they have a whole writer's room. We don't take anything from them.
So you and writers that you select write endless amounts of jokes, many, many, many more minutes than 7 minutes.
Yes.
And then how is it worked out? How do you go to clubs, you see what works, what doesn't work?
Well, you just read them. You read jokes all day. You try to make them better, and then you put a set together, and then you start going out. And I think the first time I ran the Tom Brady roast set, I was doing a corporate gig in Sedona or something, and I just, my act for corporate gigs is not always the best. They're kind of confused at some of the themes I'm talking about. It's just not what they expect because they know me from roasts or they know me from late night appearances where it's a little bit cleaner or not so absurd. And So I was like, oh yeah, I'll bring them in on the process. Because it's really a cool thing for audiences to see the beginning of this thing where I go, okay, I'm doing the Tom Brady roast. Can I try out some jokes? And then you start reading off jokes. You see what hits, and you go, okay, let's try that again.
And the audience doesn't lie. If you go to the Comedy Cellar and you're working out stuff for what might or may not be in a roast.
Yeah.
What works in the Comedy Cellar is going to work on the roast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But what struck me, the New York Times did a piece where they followed you around for, I think, a few weeks. The degree to which it was so organized, this process, and how long it took and how careful, and in a way unfunny. I mean, so serious. It was it was like a piece about the Jet Propulsion Lab or something.
Yeah. It was that exact, and that because it's live. You know, the first 3 roasts I did, it's a live performance, but it goes through an edit. All the laughs can get beefed up after. What
did you know would kill, and what were you worried about?
Well, roast of Tom Brady, not worried at all, because they were live, so there was no margin of error. There was no one that I was like, this might not work. Like, you can't have those. The 3 roasts I did where you could edit, I put in some B+ jokes that sometimes are A's. Golden Globes and Tom Brady roast, it's live, so you can't have those. This could be cool if it works, and that's not to say that they all did work, but I was really sure of all of those.
How do you pace it out? I noticed that in the Golden Globes monologue, the opening joke is incredibly short.
Yeah.
Which was?
It was, welcome to the Golden Globes, Ozempic's biggest night. Yeah. Yeah. Which, yes. You know, for the Ozempic's biggest night, I just knew it was like, welcome to the Golden Globes, da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, I just knew that's the cadence I wanted, the rhythm. And I knew that I wanted a joke immediately. I don't want them to have to wait for it. That's something that I was doing a podcast with Laurie Kilmartin and Jackie Cation, 2 amazing stand-up comedians, and I was talking about how I just never understand when comedians go out on stage and don't have a really quick joke right away to win over the audience. They kind of dawdle a little bit. Any late night set you've seen of mine, you can go back and look. Any set, I have a laugh right away. I don't waste any time, and it's not because I'm like, that's what the audience deserves. It's because I don't want them to be like, what are we doing here? And they go, well, that's being a female comic, because and I don't play that card often, but I will play that on that one, because
how come?
When a man gets on stage, you're like, that looks like a comedian to me. I'm going to give him a little bit more leeway to make me laugh. Okay, I bet he's going to make me laugh, so I'll sit and listen to him not make me laugh. I trust the laugh is coming. Date. Well, it just never goes away. That feeling of not being worthy or being thought of as less than, and it's wrapped up in also other underlying lack of self-worth that I have that permeates everything I do. But I think part of it is I just know that people think women aren't as funny, so I have to prove it right away and be like, see? And then can we all just relax and you can trust me, kind of thing.
So this leap in success seems to have done only a modest amount to alleviate problems with self-worth and anxiety.
It's done nothing.
It's done nothing.
No. I would say nothing. I'm trying to let it in. There's moments where I get, compliments from people I really admire, and they say it in a way that I'm like, oh, that's the way you say it when you mean it. They're not just being nice, and they'll break through a little bit, and I'll go, okay, yeah, I'll take that in. This person wouldn't lie to me. I don't really bask in things, and it's not because I like to be tortured. I don't know. I just don't feel like, well, I think part of it is I don't want to take it in, because when it goes away inevitably, I don't want to be sad. And
you say inevitably.
I mean, it doesn't. There's no one who's been immune to success being kind of pulled away from you. You're only on top for so long. It's going to descend, and I just want to be okay when it descends.
But you're surrounded by comedians who have had, they've had ups and downs.
Yeah.
But somebody like Tina Fey, Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
And, from year to year, it might vary, but these are long careers that are developing.
Yeah, yeah.
You're scared to admit that might possibly be you?
I mean...
Because here's the thing, Nikki. It seems like that's exactly what's happening.
I mean, I'm starting to let that in, that okay, I might be reaching a level where it's not going to go away, and it's always going to be there, and it might go up and down like you're saying, but... It's immense pressure, and I almost am tired of hearing myself say it, but I just have imposter syndrome. I just, I don't know how to beat it, but I just constantly feel like I've tricked someone, or someone's going to realize that I'm not as talented as I am, or as people think that I am.
I'm tempted to begin the question by saying join the club. And I think
Right.
it's an enormous human club. But also, is there anybody that you talk to in your world specifically who sets things right for you, makes you feel a little bit better about what the possibilities are?
I mean,
and I think you've said elsewhere that you sometimes or constantly wish you were someone else.
yeah, a lot of times. I mean, today I'm in a great mood and I love my life and I'm happy with
But it's day to day.
It's hour to hour. It really is. I wish I wasn't like this, but I can be so
And this isn't a
content.
bit. This isn't a bit.
No,
This is core.
This is annoying. I don't like talking about all of this because it seems like I'm just trying to garner sympathy or something, or that I'm trying to be relatable. Oh, it's the famous girl that doesn't think she deserves it. We've all seen that of no, I don't know. I'm just like you. It's not a bit, because there are some times where I'm like, well, you nailed that. The Golden Globes I nailed, the Tom Brady roast I nailed. Can I watch those back? Absolutely not, because in my mind they went great. But the clips I have seen or come across, when I just quickly go, oh God, there's things that I go, why did you say it like that? Why did you look like that? There's a million things that I would correct. But and yes, there are people in my life that make me feel amazing about where I'm at and ground me and all of those things.
So in an earlier part of your life, and I hate this phrase, but you would take the edge off by drinking.
Oh,
you
yeah.
quit drinking.
Uh-huh.
How do you relieve things now?
I say I text my friends and my boyfriend and I really say crazy things. I think drinking or whatever I would do to self-soothe that anxiety or that self-hatred to make that voice go away, it's not there anymore. I don't have that, so I just let that voice rage and I just say crazy stuff about myself and I just bully myself. A lot of sometimes my self-hatred has to do with my looks, because it's not really about my looks, but it's just something I can focus on. And so I will Photoshop things to prove to my friends, I am ugly. Look how much I look like this person. I'll do side by sides.
Just recently you put some photographs out. How did that happen?
Oh yeah, okay. This is
explain what I'm talking about.
Yes, okay. So I did the Tonight Show on last Monday, and by the way, I was so depressed that early morning, and then I just started wrapping my head around, you have to be on Jimmy Fallon. And then my mood starts lifting because I just have to turn into,
Right.
It's not even a character. I have no room to be depressed anymore. I can't go out on Jimmy Fallon sad yeah, you just can't do it. It's so it went away on its own. So I did Jimmy Fallon and I saw one of the pictures where I'm walking, I'm walking out and I'm my face is And I was like, where have I seen that face? And I was like, oh my God, that's the same face I made when I walked out on the first Tonight Show I ever did. There's a picture of me
What year is that?
2009, January 2009, and then cut to March 2025. And I was like, oh, let me just do side-by-sides and put out this Instagram post of me and Jimmy at the desk, me and Jay Leno at the desk, me and, And just it was more a thing of how adorable it was. Look at this young girl and look where I am now. It wasn't about look where I've been. It was also to be hey, I've been around a while. Isn't this funny? I was on the Tonight Show. You had no clue who I was until last May, and I've been around this long. It was just all right, I'll just put this out. And I don't read comments. I don't read any of my Google alerts.
I'm possibly calling bullshit on that. I think you do. It sounds like you do read comments.
I don't. I'm being 100% honest with you. I do, and you can check with my social media manager knows. Sometimes I will post something and I'll just be in the mood because it's just something lighthearted that they can't really go after. So I'll read the first comments that pop up because it just went up and I'm I'm on it and I'll see it and then I'll stop immediately a second something upsets me. But that is maybe once every 3 months I will do that.
Right.
Otherwise, zero. And sometimes you can't help it. You're on Reddit and you see your own name. And you go, well, and then, but I don't click on the comments. I just don't. So, but then I don't even know how I saw it, but it was some post. I'll look at my tagged photos or something because I need to just write, thanks for coming to the show. And there was one that was like, Nikki Glaser used to be ugly, like fat and ugly, and look, she had this glow up, and this is her new Ozempic body, which I'm like, you're conflating. I don't take Ozempic.
But this crap is all over the web.
It's all over there, but I didn't know. I saw it was going like kind of mid-viral of like, oh, Nikki Glaser, she changed through the years. I didn't know it was like she was fat and ugly and now she's not. And then people are commenting, oh, this is what money will buy you. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I tell you. Come see my show. I tell you everything I do. I'm not claiming that this is like, oh, I'm just loving my life now. Like people are commenting shitty things about me that I'm like, yeah, I said that first. You don't get to say that. And so it was really, I go, oh, they are being mean.
You've talked about not making political work too often, and you were recently quoted saying this.
Oh, God.
You just are scared that you're going to get doxxed and death threats or who knows where this leads, like detained.
Yes.
Honestly, that's not even like a joke. It's like a real fear. You said that. But I said it. And I wonder what you make of Elon Musk talking about the need to legalize comedy at CPAC in February.
I mean, I don't think anything of it. I don't believe anything. And I will say for that quote, I feel like taken out of context, I seem alarmist.
Have you had that experience?
Taken out of context?
No. Getting doxxed and death threats. And
no, but I've seen it happen. We see it to happen to other people. I don't think I'm going to be detained for talking about my vagina on stage or something. But you look at other countries where things have gone haywire and people have lost their freedom of speech. And if you speak out about the leader and if you don't hang his portrait in your house,
you end up like Lenny Bruce.
Worse, you just disappear. I'm not saying it's happening right now. I'm not saying it's happening anytime soon, but it's within the scope of possibilities. And so, yeah, I mean, like, at this point, I'm not like one of the most outspoken people against our president, but I have definitely, if you're paying attention, you know how I feel. And that sometimes scares me to be like, well, what's going to be my defense? And my defense is that he's so hot. I really think I might not agree with what he does, but he's really, I'm really attracted to him.
Are you?
I want to go on record as saying that I think he's one of the hottest men that's ever lived. And, you just hope that things don't get worse. Right now I feel very safe. I'm not like worrying for my life. I was just talking about, that quote was from the Mark Twain Prize at the Kennedy Center. It was in the air that night. And I think people are making fun of me for being like, Nikki Glaser thinks she's going to be detained. I don't. It's just, it's happened before in the history of the world a lot.
Nikki, you don't do political material all that much, but some years ago, I think it was 8 years ago, at the Rob Lowe roast, you offered some pretty searing political commentary when it came to Ann Coulter. Let's listen to a clip.
Oh, do we have to?
Yeah.
And without further ado, Ann Coulter. Oh, Ann. What's it like to be like a real-life supervillain? Like, I'd ask you how you sleep at night, but I'd assume just upside down in a robe of 101 Dalmatians. Ann Coulter has written 11 books, 12 if you count Mein Kampf. Yes. Ann's been called things like a racist, anti-Semitic, homophobic, a white supremacist, and that's just while getting plowed by Bill Maher.
I don't remember that joke.
I put it in there.
Yeah, that was hard to listen to.
Why? You seem like you feel bad about it now.
No, I don't feel bad. I would have chosen different jokes and different delivery. I feel bad about the delivery. And I feel bad like I didn't go harder. Like I would have just liked to just really say it bluntly. Like, you're a terrible person. Like, what I think, saying like, what's it like to be a real life supervillain? I wish I wouldn't have really like laughed in between. I can tell that I was like nervous that she was like not going to like me, but I probably would have done the same thing now because it's hard to tell these things to people who you're looking at and who you actually feel that way about.
You saw that they canceled the gig of the comedian at the White House Correspondents' Center?
I saw that, yeah.
Jesus, would you take that gig?
No.
Why?
It's you bomb. No matter what.
It's a bad
even
room.
When it's a good room, it's a bad room.
It's a horrible room.
Yeah, even, and past years when it felt safer. It's just not. Yeah, it's a bad room, and also you're just. I don't want to alienate people, and I don't want to make enemies, and I don't like having headlines written about me where it's like, I don't like headlines. I would rather like just, I like good. I don't want to. Yeah, I just don't want to stir up stuff. I mean, my parents would be so proud if I did a gig like that.
Why?
Because they
for political reasons?
Yeah.
What are their politics?
I mean, they're almost they're very liberal. They're almost too liberal.
What do you mean?
It's like you just can't. They're watching Fox News to hate it. Like they're
hate watching.
They're hate watching. They're it's knocked years of their lives off of them. The stress that this president has caused them. But yeah, they would be very proud if I did that. But they also like when I'm safe and happy. So I think that they actually wouldn't want me to, because they want me to be safe.
When is that? When are you safe? When are you feeling happy?
When I'm watching White Lotus, when I'm done with work, when I get to be around my family, when we get to go out for dinner. Like I live in St. Louis, so I'm.
Why do you live in St. Louis, away from LA, away from New York?
Because I went back for COVID. I was living in New York during when the pandemic started. I went back to just hang out with my parents to wait for it to blow over. It didn't. I just was scared and single and. Just was like, I want to be with my mommy and daddy, and I love them. They're really cool. They're funny. They're like they're my friends now. And so I lived with my parents for a year, and then I was a
you lived with your
year
parents
when I was
for a
36.
year.
Yeah,
How'd that go?
It was awesome. I didn't want to go. They kind of were like, listen, you got to move on. I mean, I was.
They threw you out of the house.
They kind of did. They were like, this is fun. We're all having a good time, but you got to grow up. And we all knew it. I mean, I had been out of their house for years at that point, and I had a huge career. Like I was touring theaters from my parents' house. So it was really. But I am, there's a failure to launch kind of thing going on with me. I am a little bit stunted.
Yeah, but you can't do that. You can't pull that off anymore. You are launched into outer space at this point.
But I still, if I'm home alone in St. Louis, if my boyfriend's not there, I sleep at my parents' house every single time. I don't like being alone. I like hanging out with them. We watch TV late. Like that's my happy time, is being with my family. So that's why I live in St. Louis. I just was there, and then I would go to fly to New York or LA for TV stuff, and no one seemed to notice I didn't live there.
Right.
And I was at a point in my career where if they are not willing to buy me a Southwest ticket, the gig's not worth it. People can. I'm not asking to stay at the nicest places or for first class. So I'm just like, well, if you're not willing to fly me out and put me up, like I don't really want the gig. So it's nice to just be with my family while they're still kicking.
Nikki, finally, how do you view your future?
I really want to work on. My goal for myself is to I want more self-acceptance, because I'm not going to get smarter. I'm not going to get more talented. Like all these things I'm waiting to happen. Like I wish I was this person. I wish I was as funny as that person, or as smart, or as detail-oriented, or organized, or beautiful. The beauty thing I can work on. There's money to be poured into that. But I think I just want to I want to be accepting of, and I am accepting of most things, but I want to do like ayahuasca. I want to do like mushroom trips. Like I want to do some spiritual journeys.
Do you know how much vomiting is involved in the ayahuasca process?
Do you know how bulimic I was in college? I can handle it.
Nikki Glaser, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is so fun.
It's always good to end with a bulimia joke.
Right?
Nikki Glaser is, of course, on tour. And if you missed her hosting the Golden Globe Awards this year, she'll be hosting them again next year. That's the New Yorker Radio Hour for today. I'm David Remnick. Thanks for listening. See you next time.